In recent years, Saudi Arabia has been trying to present itself as an ideal place for foreign investment. The Saudi Crown Prince's ambitious plan to wean the kingdom's economy off oil is not imaginable without foreign investment. Summits like Davos in the desert, held in Riyadh in October 2019, was in fact the kingdom's desperate effort to lure foreign investors. But the stakes are high in the kingdom, where the royal family is still above the law. Any legal dispute with Al Saud princes may put a businessman's trade and life in ruins. This is exactly what happened to Gary Arnold, a British entrepreneur who introduced English fish and chips to Saudi Arabia.
الحادث اللي حدث مؤلم جدا لجميع السعوديين.
Gary Arnold, 50, was arrested in Dubai in October. He is now languishing in a police cell without access to his phone. He's facing 8 charges for unpaid debts from creditors to his company, including one that carries a maximum 2-year jail sentence. And this is not what the young Gary hoped when he went to Riyadh some 20 years ago. Arnold launched his fish and chip business in 2000 under the name of London Business Group, growing it to 36 branches and malls across Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and elsewhere in the Middle East. In 2017, the Saudi's royal family company, Harbour Holdings Hima Foods, decided to buy out Arnold's successful business under a deal valued at about 30 million riyals or 7 million pounds. Arnold should have received 6 million riyals as an existing partner, but the merged business struggled to meet its liabilities without the Saudi cash injection, culminating in March 2018 with Arnold's arrest and detention for 5 days in UAE for a missed payment on a bank loan. His passport was then confiscated and he got a 2-year sentence in absentia.
You have to have confidence in the rule of law. You have to have confidence that there's consistency and there's justice underpinning the country, and no investor in their right mind would dare take a chance of rolling a dice in entering an environment where that does not exist, or it only exists in the breach. And it seems to me that Saudi Arabia is run by diktat, at the whims and fancies of these Saudi princes, and that the law is there to serve their whims, not there to constrain or restrain their excesses. And investors require confidence, they require stability, and Saudi Arabia lacks all of the above.
Arnold's ensuing legal dispute pitted him against a high-profile family of Saudi royals, central to which is Prince Faisal bin Bandar bin Sultan bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, the current chairman of Harbour Holdings. 2 other royals linked to the company are its ex-chairman Prince Khalid bin Bandar Al Saud, Saudi ambassador to London, and its co-founder Princess Rima bin Bandar Al Saud, the Saudi ambassador to Washington.
Well, very little. These princes, as I say, lord over the country. The country is buttressed by 2 extremes: extreme decadence and ostentation on the part of the royal family at one end, and extreme religious sectarianism and medieval barbarism at the hands of the Wahhabi religious apparatus at the other end. And in between, you have people being squeezed as in a vice. And so in such a scenario, you are playing with fire when you enter the legal system there. I don't think it's a legal system. I think it's more a system of brutality that comes with the patina of legality. And as I say, this will send every right-thinking foreign investor running for cover rather than invest in such a country.
According to Arnold's lawyer, Toby Cadman, London Business Group was a very successful business that the Saudi Arabian Royals Company has destroyed through negligence or incompetence. Before his arrest, Gary Arnold had an interview with The Telegraph about his now miserable situation, which shed light on what the Saudis would like to hide behind their glitzy summits. This is Arnold's experience after 20 years of working in Saudi Arabia and interacting with the royal family. These are high-profile individuals who seem to be under the impression that they can dump their responsibilities and ignore our exposure. I have been shouldering their liabilities for the last 3 years. Despite numerous promises, both written and verbal, they haven't met their responsibilities. It has left us without a business and without an income. It has left us trapped in a country which we no longer want to be part of and separated from our family and loved ones. I have had to send my family back to London and am unable to pay the school fees and my housing costs. My residency visa has expired, and the Saudis continue to say they're going to pay, then don't, which is unacceptable.
This development, the plight of Gary Arnold, will send a chill down the spine of every putative investor into Saudi Arabia. And it only confirms that even though the country or the state has made a great boast of modernizing under the rule of Prince bin Salman, it's only modernizing its illegality, modernizing its corruption, and modernizing the arbitrariness of rule by diktat by various Saudi princes, of which there are a great number. And so I think this is going to be a wake-up call for the international investment community when it comes to their dealings with Saudi Arabia. This is just further evidence that Saudi Arabia is less a state and more a vast criminal enterprise masquerading as one.
The money still failed to materialize despite personal commitment to proceed with the deal with Prince Faisal in June 2018, in which he acknowledged some financial circumstances have happened which prevented him from transferring the shares and paying the remaining amount. Now, Catman is trying to put pressure on the royals to pay the money they owe the businessman. But according to him, it is going to cost Mr. Arnold and his business partner tens of thousands of pounds, all of which has been caused by the Saudis. The failure of the Saudi Royals Company to keep its part of the deal has left Gary Arnold facing financial ruin, a jail sentence, and repossession of his home for unpaid debts, as well as being separated from his family and unable to return to the UK due to the confiscation of his passport.
I just think that we have reached the end game when it comes to Saudi Arabia. We should have reached this point after the vile murder by Bonesaw of Jamal Khashoggi in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul a couple of years ago. But the Trump regime covered that up because money talks, and money in the West is seen as more important than human life. But there are increasing clamour amongst people, increasing awakening as to the character of Saudi Arabia. And despite the attempt at sports washing, holding like big boxing events and other sporting events in Saudi Arabia, I think the rot is set in. Saudi Arabia is trying to win the favour of Western investors, businessmen, corporations. It wants to replicate what's going on in Dubai, but I don't think it will be possible to do that because of the character of the state, a state born in blood, nourished by blood, and which feasts on the blood of innocents in its own country and in the region.
The question is if the story of Gary Arnold is due to the misconduct of some bad apples in the Saudi royal family, or it is part of the game in the authoritarian kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Isn't Arnold's story somehow similar to the Ritz-Carlton arrest story, where hundreds of Saudi businessmen were arrested and tortured before their properties being confiscated?
مؤلم جدا لجميع السعوديين.